Welcome back, everyone, to episode 14 of the Mad Nerds podcast with Mike and Dave. I'm, of course, your host, Dave, Superhero Deuce, here with my buddy Mike.
Yes, Mike is the hat. All over the interwebs.
Yes, everywhere that you can find us. We haven't been Twitch streaming, but we're going to get back to that here starting soon. We're going to get more active on Twitter and YouTube and the such and the like. It's just getting rolling into 2015. Got another episode up for you, jam-packed, lots to talk about. We're going to get right into it, of course, with Agent Carter. We know that there wasn't an episode this week. We also didn't podcast last weekend, so we're going to catch you up on the last couple weeks of things that have been happening, the major news and the like. Mike, Agent Carter, another strong episode, man. The third part of this 8-part but 7-episode miniseries, and my goodness, Jarvis and Agent Carter just continue to find awesome things to do.
Yeah, I really like their dynamic. Like I said before we got on there, we were talking a little bit, and I said Jarvis is just really BA. Like I didn't expect him to be as cool as he is. Like I thought him to be, he was just going to be like a snooty, British guy. But he's definitely awesome. He helps out a lot, even though he's not when he's told not to by Peggy. But the whole Leviathan thing, we had the Heartbreak ship with the symbol on it and all that. This thing just gets more and more like spy tech, and I love it.
Yeah, and we got a little bit of peek into Jarvis's backgrounds and kind of how he and Howard Stark became friends and colleagues, and he became his butler, and the big story with Jarvis's wife, and all this amazing backstory when he's being interrogated. By Chad Michael Murray's character. You get this whole thing where Carter then takes the fall for him, which just adds to her problems. It's like she's clearly chosen a side. A lot happened in this episode. Obviously the teaser from a couple weeks ago kind of lied to us. It looked like the Howling Commandos would be showing up. Looks like they're going to be in this week's episode. But let's just kind of talk about this whole the ending. I want to just get right to the ending because there was a lot of good stuff in the middle, but the real impact was at the end. Where Krasinski is killed by this unknown person, this masked person, who clearly took out the witness. That's what they were going for, because all the Stark tech was taken off of the Heart boat, whatever it was called. I can't remember right off the top of my head. You kind of get all that going, and I really am just curious about who's this masked person, because this is just my gut feeling, is we saw Dottie Underwood. That person, the lady, come in and live, down the hall from Agent Carter after that one lady got kicked out for the guy sneaking up to be in there. And I almost feel like Dottie Underwood is going to be the shooter, because it's like, why would you introduce her if she's not going to be some major part? And they made a point of concealing the shooter, whereas everybody else's identities have been very out there and in the open. I'm just very curious about that.
Yeah, it could make sense. The ship was called the Heartbreak, by the way. That was the symbol.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a big thing. It was cool seeing like how upset everybody was too. Like nobody really liked Krasinski. Like he was kind of an idiot, and nobody really.
Yeah, he was a brute, as Agent Carter said. I even felt the same way. I'm like, I don't even like this guy, but even I have a little bit of feels as he's dead. Like I felt for the guy.
You saw all the ladies up at the front, the phone operators were all upset about it. Everybody was just kind of sitting there. It was very somber when she walked into the SSR, office there.
He was kind of a scumbag. We got that idea. It's like, I'll call his wife, I'll call his girlfriend, which was really funny. I mean, it played for a lot of humor. But it just, man, the people who, I think the director of this episode was Joe Russo, if I'm not mistaken. He did, of course.
He was the second episode director.
Okay.
This one was Scott
Yes.
Why Not?
Yes. Okay. So Scott, why not? And I just continue to give credit to the writers and everybody who's behind this show, because they throw things at you that you don't expect. And this was just one of those things. Like, man, you killed off the least likable dude, and yet I feel for him.
Yeah, it was just the way he went out, and then the way it just kind of changed the whole direction of the show. Like, it went really, somber. Like I said, it was just all kind of downhill for a little bit, and then it picked back up. As you know, things were getting crazy for the good old preview for next week's episode.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is it really set up? It was a good setup episode, and of course, like we said, a good share of stuff happened as far as learning about people's backgrounds and origins, connections, getting to know the characters a little bit more. But it really set up next week when Howard Stark is going to reappear. There's clearly been some kind of betrayal going on here. where Jarvis and Stark are really, they're pulling a fast one on Carter, but we don't really know what that is yet. We don't know what their end game is, or kind of what they're aiming to achieve through all this. So, I'm really curious. I'm excited for next week's episode. It looks like it's going to be, or for this week's episode, it looks like it's going to be a great one. Of course, it is kind of getting to the middle of that. It'll be, part 4 of the 7-part series, so this is where everything kind of has to turn.
Yeah, this is where we're hoping for it to be the climax. This is where you would want it to climax if you were to write the story, obviously. But I want to go back to how just awesome Peggy Carter is at figuring out how they got all the weapons out.
Yes, that really showed her aptitude as a spy, and I'm really glad that they've been doing that.
That was awesome. She's like, "Is there a storm drain? Oh, look, it rained, and then the storm knocked out the lights," and I was like, "This is really awesome." But I am excited for next week. From what I'm reading on the internet, there's going to be a Stan Lee cameo in episode
awesome.
4 or episode 3 or part 4 of Agent Carter coming up here on Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that.
Yes, and like we said, we love this show. I'm not going to give it a numerical rating because I don't feel like that's fair. I definitely, though, I love the show. I just love, because I think it's better to view this as a whole since it is a mini-series instead of episode by episode. It's just driving the same story forward constantly, so it's still big. A lot of big stuff going on. I love it. I'm loving the heck out of it, and they still have managed to conceal Agent Carter's identity. We had that thing at the end where Krasinski was like talking to the guy that they just captured, and he's like, "Hey, is that English broad with you?" And it's like, "What, English?" And then of course he gets killed, so he can't tell anybody. But that has been a through line all the way, and I'm really curious to see, when is this going to take a turn? Is the SSR going to crumble? Because obviously the guys working there aren't the best of people. I feel like one of them has to be a spy at some point. I think that's going to come to fruition. One of them has to be working for Leviathan or Hydra or something, because we know that there's people within S.H.I.E.L.D. and there were from the beginning. So can't wait to see where this is going.
Yeah, and I want to see where Sousa goes. I like him a lot, the guy with the bum leg. They were talking about him and Krasinski talking about, "You sweet on Carter?" And, he's like,
yeah. I'm really curious because, good bringing that up, Mike, because in, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, you have that clip of Agent Carter saying in that documentary, Steve Rogers ultimately saved the person who would be my husband. And I'm like, okay, was he a Howling Commando? Is it one of the guys she worked with who also fought in the war? Like, who is the guy that she ends up getting with? And, that's the part to me that's the most curious. Sousa, he seems like a nice guy, but it wouldn't be Marvel if they didn't have a curveball, and they might just pull the rug right out from under us and say, haha, he was a bad guy.
Yeah, he wasn't actually crippled. That's a gun. And then he shoots people with a cane. That'd be awesome.
That would be very James Bond, very spy-esque of it. So, good stuff from Agent Carter. Super pumped for Tuesday. But this week we did get our new episode of Gotham. We get to know who is the Electrocutioner for real. And I'm glad that at least this time they've been subtle with the references. They, like you said, Mike, the doctor who was in Arkham Asylum, she turned out to be a DC character. Come to find out, this is Jack Baczynski, not Jack Gruber, and that just made all this a little bit better, a little bit stronger.
Yeah, I mentioned it 2 weeks ago when we recorded that the original Electrocutioner was an unnamed man, but his last name was Baczynski because his brother took over the mantle once he got caught. So now we have that to look forward to. When do they bring the Electrocutioner back, whether it's this season or if, they continue, since Gotham did get picked up for a second season, if they continue that storyline in season 2. That was great. The way that the Electrocutioner was eventually caught in the end was very campy and ridiculous.
It was super cheese, but it was funny. I'll give it that. It was funny, but it was super cheese. It was just, you go through all this trouble to create an elaborate scheme. Of course, Gordon's the only one who wears the proper shoes, and you get your face off. It was a good action scene with him and the muscle. I can't remember the muscle's name.
Amygdala.
Yeah,
amygdala, whatever, however you want to pronounce the part of the brain that he's named after.
Yeah, I think we'll go with amygdala. And that was a good action scene, but it was just super weird. Like, it just showed, like, the flaw in the psychopath's plan. That a cup of water could beat you, dude. But you came up with this elaborate scheme, and You didn't kill anybody. You just kind of stunned them all. Like, okay.
Yeah, he even mentioned it too. He's like, I thought this was going to have a little bit more, oomph.
Yeah.
But it did.
He was kind of cheesy in his own right. He was half cheesy, half psycho. But yeah, I agree. It was weird.
Yeah, that kind of reminded me of Iron Man 2 when they first caught Whiplash, and then, Tony Stark gives him the way to make his arc reactor better with the double cycle thing. And I think Gordon exposing, that the electrocutioner was wearing his, electronics out in the open that they could just be short-circuited by a cup of water is going to lead to whenever we either get him, if Jack comes back, or his brother, if they do it that way, how they're going to change their electrocutioner suit.
Right. There was a few things about, obviously, this episode had some ups and downs. There were two main storylines that were running concurrent with each other. It was a typical Gotham episode in that regard, in that there were some good things that worked and some things that didn't work. I'm glad that we've kind of gotten away from a lot of the side stories that just don't help anything. Like, we didn't have any of the kids. We didn't have Bruce. We didn't have Selena Kyle. We didn't have Poison Ivy. They kept all them out of it. Cool with me. I'm all right with that. However, we did get that one weird scene with Barbara Keene and her family that just kind of made me scratch my head like, why is this in here? And they're just creepy.
The butler was I thought the butler was Bomani Jones from ESPN for a second. and then like, he's just standing there staring at Barbara, and she's like, my parents live here. And then she just kind of like walked in. He was like, what? Yeah, and then they just were all like sipping tea very, very oddly. Like, it was odd.
It has a very creepy Downton Abbey feel, their little home, and the way that the dad doesn't want to talk, and just very cryptic. And they better do something with that. If you're going to throw that in there, you better have some payoff. They better be somebody. Like, I don't know if there's any comic origins to them or anything like that, but they better be going somewhere with this.
I think it's more just to move the love story between Barbara and Jim, and now Dr. What's her name?
Leslie Tompkins.
Lee Tompkins.
Yeah, Lee Tompkins.
Forward, and that whole thing, especially after what Poison Ivy did in the last episode, with the phone call thing. But I'm glad that we got my boy Edward, the Riddler Nigma, back.
Yes, and actually doing good work and doing some things there in the Gotham PD. Of course, Miss Kringle, he continues to want to pursue her, and she had a cop come to make sure that he didn't.
The cupcake thing was amazing.
Yes, I loved that.
I liked how he had to go back and explain it, and she was like, she got flattered. You could see her face like, ooh, and then like that cop came out of the back room and made it all awkward. Yeah,
it's interesting. I really think that that's interesting. I hope that, Gordon continues to get his job back, which he did. Thank God. The Arkham thing was just a weird side story, basically to give us the electrocutioner and the doctor, which, initially I'm sitting here like, okay, if they have some kind of way. This is what kind of scared me for a minute, Mike. In that shower scene, because I couldn't tell where they were off the bat, like as soon as they, came to that. And I saw like a purple-ish jacket hanging up. I'm like, oh God, are they going to like introduce the Joker in some, stupid little end cut scene? Because I would hate that, and I realized they weren't. So that was fine. It threw me for a loop because they've been so much in your face about who everybody is. But I liked the way that they moved this story. We got more Bullock. We got more Gordon in the sense of, Bullock was like, hey, it was nice knowing you. And then they were like, oh, Bullock, we want you in here too. He's like, I hate you.
No, when he's telling him, you thought you were careful before, and he just kept repeating that question over and over again at the end, when Jim asked him if he wanted to go for a beer, and he's like, now you're messing with my mind.
Yeah, we did get a couple good, comics connections. Of course, we had Commissioner Loeb,
corrupt and terrible.
Yep, and he was also in the Nolan Batman film, so if anybody caught that, that's who that is. And then the cop, actually, I believe, was the cop from Batman Begins, who worked alongside Jim Gordon in that. Class, I believe his name is. That was the officer who was helping out Miss Kringle, and I thought it was subtle. They didn't throw it in your face, but I was like, hey, we know who that is.
Yeah, I'm trying to find his name. name right now, but that is good. I really like Commissioner Loeb is such a scumbag, like in all of the Batman, stuff that we finally get to see him in the thing, and Jim kind of give him like the needling that he did at the end. It was great. We got to see. This is my biggest thing is we got to see Falcone finally get his hands dirty.
That storyline may finally be ending. Thank God Almighty.
I love it. I'm so excited that we may be getting rid of Fish Mooney, and I'm giving like a big thumbs up. Is it bad that I was rooting for her to die at the end?
Moralistically, that might be a little bit of a gray area, Mike. However, it is a television show, so I think that you just want bad people to lose, and you want storylines that you don't like to be gone. This for me, Mike, this is my thinking of it. If they created Fish Mooney to show why Falcone became so ruthless, or Falcone, how he became so ruthless in the future, I'm okay with that. Because he is known as the big crime boss. He is, this ruthless guy. I think that this would be a great way to show, hey, somebody insulted him by bringing his mom into this, and he just went nuts after that. He became ruthless, even though he was a little bit older, and just went off. I'm like, yeah, I could buy this. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, Detective Flass was that guy's name.
Flass. Okay, yes.
But, yeah, this is the Falcone that you know from the comic books. The Roman, maybe we'll see that name thrown around a little bit now that he's kind of, been reinvigorated by Fish Mooney. I like Zaz. We get to see Zaz again.
Yes, I'm so glad he's back. He's so creepy and awesome.
Yeah, he has no eyebrows, and it freaks me out.
He's very much about killing.
yeah, he was way into, let me just go kill them. I'll just go do it.
And he did. That's the thing. They didn't show it. It was obviously off screen, but when Falcone's like, don't even bother calling for help because all your people are dead, and you see Zaz walk in, and you're just like, yes, he's so good. And in the preview for next week, he's clearly at the center of all this. I think that if they got one character extremely right, it's Victor Zaz.
Yeah, the very beginnings of Victor Zaz, we don't see his, as many scars as you would, say, in the Arkham video games or in the comics when he's around. But we get like I said, the first time we saw him, very beginning Victor Zaz, and he's just as creepy now as he is, later on in his criminal career. Yes,
and my thing, too, with the Fish Mooney, obviously there's no clear thing that she does die. Obviously, you got the guy with the drill, and somebody may... you never know with Penguin, man. He could pull a back door on somebody, and just man, that was... The Penguin continued... He almost... I don't know why they had him almost give it away in the whole, after he got electrocuted but not killed, with Maroni. That just didn't make any sense to me. It's why do that? Why would you drop that in there? But I guess it made a little bit of tension for 5 minutes.
The Maroni's stories and stuff, what he does throughout the whole episode, any episode that he's in, are just so amazing. I just love his character as a whole.
Yes, and like we said, the mob tie is clearly the strength of the show, which sucks because this is supposed to be about Jim Gordon. But at the same time, you can't always predict these kind of things. What's going to work? What are people going to like? Butch, I think, is another interesting character. I wonder if he's going to survive through the next episode, because he's a guy that I could see actually working for Falcone and being a pretty good lieutenant of some kind. I could see him betraying Fish Mooney, almost okay, for the highest bidder, I'll take it, whatever that's going to take. But Penguin's not done. Cobblepot still is being he's being very sneaky, and so I'm excited. For the first time, I'm actually optimistic about where the show is going. I like it. Some of the good storylines are happening. The action is kicking up. We're seeing some of these other, guns for hire coming back into play, and good things should be ahead for Gotham, even though this episode was very shaky.
Yeah, we got a lot of loose ends getting tied up already, and we're only in, the 13th episode or so of the season, so they're trying to...
Yeah, I believe this was episode 12.
Or 12, excuse me, that's right. There wasn't one last week. Episode 12. 2 weeks ago. When was it? But they were off 1 week.
They were off 2 weeks ago, and they had a show this week. So, it was. You know what? This is the other thing I have to say about the show is that storyline with Fish Mooney, I felt like got stretched as far as they possibly could stretch it. If you don't kill her off, you better have something to do with her. Like, she needs to turn into something. Or get killed. Just, you have to establish that in this next episode. You cannot drag that out any further, because we're all sick of it.
Well, she gets like tortured over several episodes and then eventually dies in like the season finale. I would be okay with that. Like, if it was just like, I mean, that sounds terrible, but if it was just like, you cut to her for like a couple of scenes of her getting like interrogated and kind of messed with by that guy with the reciprocating saw, and that just kind of dragged out for a couple weeks until like, they played up in the season finale, who's gonna die, but like.
Yeah, keep the big name actress around for a little bit longer, help her make her paycheck, and everybody's happy. So, Mike, what would you rate this episode this week?
I would give this an 8. I would say an 8 out of 10 for me would be good. I like that the Riddler was back. I like that we got Zaz. The Electrocutioner was actually tied in with this comic book stuff. Bullock and my boy Jim Gordon working together. We got Commissioner Lopez. There's just so much good like comic book related stuff, the way it's supposed to be done, and I was excited about it. One thing, I'm still missing Harvey Dent. I wish we could get Harvey Dent back to see some more of his dynamic with Jim, but maybe in the coming episodes we'll get that.
Yeah, we saw Jim Gordon kind of going to the dark side now, so who knows what could be happening.
I'm just super excited that they caught Fish Mooney and Carmine got his hands dirty. That was ruthless, man. He just choked out Liza. That was so rough.
And he even said, "I'm sure you're a fine girl and you didn't mean for this all to happen, but sorry."
Yeah, boom, that's it, done.
Yeah, it was more of he killed out of his own rage. It had nothing to do with her. He just needed to kill somebody, and you couldn't kill Jada Pinkett Smith.
No, well, I think that was his, intention the whole time. Once he figured it out, that was it. David, what did you think?
7.5. Like I said, kind of with you, there was a lot of strong stuff, but there were just a couple bad writing things with this. Like, why does the Electrocutioner feel the need to kill the guy at the electric shop, but then he's at Maroni's restaurant, clearly the object of all of his anger, and he doesn't kill the person who touches the doorknob there because of plot convenience, because it's the Penguin who touches the doorknob? Like, that's just bad writing. You could have had any lieutenant go and get the door, but nope, it's got to be Penguin. Oh, so then we can't kill him. So then it all of a sudden looks like, well, okay, is the Electrocutioner a murderer, or does he just kind of kill when he wants to? Like, I just was... That put me off. Like, that alone took 1 point off the episode, and like I said, there were a couple other little things, like with Barbara Keane, that I didn't like so much. So 7.5, still good. That's still solid. I just think it still can be better, but it's going in the right direction at least, because usually I give it about a 6.5 or a 7, so we're going in the right direction now.
Yeah, and the ratings are right around where they have been, 6.5 million viewers. These, I want to just looking ahead at the names of the next 3 episodes. We have Welcome Back Jim Gordon, obviously ties into what just happened in episode 12. Then episode 14, The Fearsome Dr. Crane, and episode 15, The Scarecrow.
Okay, so we're getting Scarecrow.
Awesome. Amazing. That's great. So hopefully Dr. Crane at the beginning of that episode is a college professor, but we'll get to that when we get there. Yes,
good things happening with Gotham, as always. So, once again, we talked a lot about comic origins, and you know what, Mike? Comics, there wasn't a whole lot happening in the last couple of weeks. The big events have wrapped up, and we're going to talk about the big comic news here in a minute. But Mike, what did you read this week in comics?
All right, so I only picked up 2 books this week because that was what was in the box. I can't control that. Is what it is. I was actually surprised to see one of the books, to see Guardians in the box, because it's been kind of random times when they hand that book out to the people. But I had a Future's End number 38 this week. It was very meh. We didn't have any kind of love story like I talked about last time we're here with Plastique and Terry McGinnis, although they did kind of make a reference to it, but got a lot more of the Joker-Batman mashup character that Brother Eye has made to try and hunt down the Batman and Terry McGinnis in the future, or in the past. So it's just continuing that storyline, man. There's a lot of fighting. Batman and Batman Beyond have now kind of teamed up to, get rid of Brother Eye. Terry McGinnis tells Bruce Wayne, I came back from the future to stop you from creating Brother Eye with Mr. Terrific and Terrific Tech. And Bruce just kind of looks at him. That's kind of how it wraps up. We had the whole story with 50 Sue still going on. She's still worried about killing Deathstroke, which we haven't seen in a few weeks in the book. But it's moving forward. It wasn't the greatest issue, but it wasn't as bad as the last couple that I've read with the whole potential sexual acts between Terry McGinnis and a girl who touches things and turns them into bombs. So,
yeah, that's a good way to get rid of the the turn from that. That's a nice little twist.
But then I did get Guardians of the Galaxy number 23, where they finally make it to the planet of the symbiotes, and we see this just weird planet, man. It's just out there, and I was excited. We get like this thing where like the symbiotes they give their name, the Krilltars or something. Or rather, I gotta look it up. But they they say like our race is very much misunderstood. We're not evil. We just have bad relationships with our hosts that cause either the symbiote to lose its control and turn its host into like a psychopath, or the person was already a psychopath to begin with. Cletus Thompson.
Yes.
Or Cletus
Cassidy. Cletus Cassidy, Flash Thompson.
Flash. Eugene Thompson.
Yes,
they call
Eugene.
him. The symbiotes talk to him. So the symbiotes take in all the Guardians, and the only way that they can talk is if they, get onto their body. So everybody has a symbiote on them, and they're telling the story of the symbiotes, which I thought was pretty awesome. So that's going great. I hope that continues a little bit. I think that might have been the end of that little story arc, because they're starting a whole new thing. But I'm excited. David, Did you get a chance to read this?
I did. I liked it as well. For me, this was a great way, and I'm glad that they made the symbiotes not evil. They could have gone any number of directions with this, and I'm glad that they chose to go this one, where we really get to see, okay, you know what? Psychopaths just tend to end up with these things. Like, it's not our fault. And, like you said, where the symbiotes have to latch onto things in order to speak, makes sense, because a lot of times you just see kind of the goo running around or latching onto different things. And, it kind of makes you think, like, okay, was Rocket kind of a psychopath? Or like, okay, how do you keep the symbiotes under control? Like,
is Rocket kind of a psychopath?
No, he's totally a psychopath, but he's a good psychopath. It all just, like we've talked about during the Axis event, it just takes one little thing to change someone from good to evil. But I've loved this entire thing, and I know, Mike, you're a big symbiotes guy, so is this really been living up to your expectations, or has it kind of come up short, or where does this kind of fall for you with where they've taken this?
I like this. This was where I came in with kind of low expectations. Just kind of like, oh, well, we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll make this ridiculous. I thought it was going to be a little bit longer, but like I said, the 3-issue arc was pretty cool. But I liked the way they, said that Eugene Thompson, Flash, was such a noble human, like that his symbiote got to know his hopes and dreams and fears and kind of his insecurities, and the symbiote was there to kind of fix him into this person that he wanted to be. And that's why they brought him to this planet, so that the other symbiotes can kind of touch him and see what's going on. And then we got new armor, like Venom gets a new look, and it looks freaking awesome.
Yes, I wanted to touch on that. Man, Venom looks just amazing.
Yeah. And obviously now, like, Flash Thompson does have legs, so the symbiote is going to be on him constantly. Always, but now he can, his new like suit, he looks like an astronaut or like a special forces soldier more so, with like black pants and gloves and stuff, and then he morphs into like an even bigger Venom than he was before as Agent Venom.
Yes, it's fantastic. A good story, good feels, like you said, good visuals. Loved the heck out of it. Very good. Yeah,
the planet looks nuts, man. Like, if you go read it, Because I know they did a Planet of the Symbiotes in like the 90s, and that led to like the Scarlet Spider and all the clones of Peter Parker and stuff like that. And some people didn't like that. This is a much different feel to a Planet of the Symbiote story.
Yes, and so good things happening there. I didn't get a chance to read my Moon Knight book this week, but I will. I love Moon Knight to death. So the big thing here, as we've been kind of talking about Marvel, is that there is a big thing happening in the Marvel Universe. If you haven't heard about it by now, I don't know where you've been. The Marvel Universe, as we know it, will be ending in 2015. That's what Time Runs Out has meant. That's what Secret Wars has been is going to be, as it's been leading up to that. You have Battleworld. We've had all the teases. All those little posters. All of it has led up to this. Mike, this is the big news out of the comic book world. Marvel is going to merge the 616, the Ultimates universe. All their timelines are going to be smashed together for Battleworld Secret Wars.
This is a huge, huge thing for Marvel. Obviously, they're coming off of Axis, which has been a great event. We see DC with the multiverse thing, kind of.
Yep, Convergence coming up, which almost feels very similar to this.
Yeah, the multiverse and then Convergence coming up in the next few months. Like, this is going to be a big year for comic, like, giant mash-in storylines to where it changes the whole universe, which could be a good thing. Some people didn't like the New 52 when it started, and now it seems to be doing pretty well. This could be the same type of thing, or people could just love it right off. It's kind of weird that they're reusing titles, though, because Marvel already did Secret Wars. They've already done a Civil War. They've already done, like, there's stuff that they're reusing, but we'll see. That's all I can really say about it. Like, I'm excited that stuff that I don't get to read very often, like the Ultimate Universe, like, I really have no idea what's going on over there.
It's very tough to keep track of.
I know the normal, the 616? I know that. Marvel's New York and stuff. That's more of the Marvel stuff that I know, but...
Right. Well, of course, like the Ultimates, the biggest thing that introduced was, Nick Fury looks like Samuel L. Jackson instead of, a middle-aged white guy. Various things like that. You got some different origins for Captain America and Iron Man and people like that. And the Hulk's origin, of course, changed. They used a lot of that in the movies, which was big. The thing here that really just kind of caught my eye is that they said is that this isn't ending anything. It's just going to continue to be in continuity with everything that's happened. Like, there's been a lot of incursions, which, of course, if you aren't following the Marvel Universe, that's what's allowed, like, Spider-Verse to happen and these different cross-platforming of worlds, where Miles Morales all of a sudden ends up in the 616 universe, even though he's the Ultimate Spider-Man, and things like that. But it's going to allow, like, Planet Hulk is going to end up in Battleworld. Armor Wars Iron Man is going to end up in this world, even though he's from a different thing. The 90s X-Men are going to be in this. The Scarlet Witch from House of M is going to turn up at some point. You have this merging of the universes, and I'm just sitting here and I'm looking at this and I'm like, you know what? If this isn't a reboot, I'm okay with it. But what's going to happen to all the stuff that you just established with, like, Superior Iron Man, and which is another comic I still need to read from this week? How is all of this going to affect things? Like, Jonathan Hickman's Avengers titles have been really driving this story. But I'm just really excited because it comes out right at the same time as Age of Ultron, the movie, so good marketing there. A ton of things can be happening. But is Miles Morales then going to become, like, the main universe Spider-Man? Is like they said, Peter Parker's For One More Day storyline is going to be completely wiped away, I think. And he's going to just end up married to Mary Jane and have a kid. Is he still going to be Spider-Man as his old man, or is Miles Morales going to take over in the main universe? Like, what's the fallout of this going to be? The scope could be massive. I mean, they've already had two huge events with Original Sin and Axis, and now you've got this. It is, whew. Man, I don't even know what to think. Like, I hope that they answer what made Thor unworthy. Like, just so much stuff to answer that I'm still curious about. So we'll see where this goes. But man, huge news.
Yeah, this is definitely something that everybody should be looking into if you're a comic book fan. Like, there's nothing that you shouldn't be seeing in this.
Yeah, the other big thing, of course, is, like, you have the X-Men things, and Wolverine is still dead. Deadpool is going to be dying here soon. That was a big thing. Like, how is all this going to be affected? Marvel, of course, is not going to answer all these questions. They're going to tell you to read the comics. But by all means, when May 2015 rolls around, of course, a lot of books are ending, like, Uncanny Avengers, Amazing X-Men, different things like that. The Avengers book will obviously be kind of coming to an end, or probably continuing through, maybe not with, like, new number ones, but that one will still be the through line. Scott Lang, of course, is now involved. I want to see him go against Hank Pym. I think that'd be awesome. Different iterations of characters. So, like, Mike, since we now kind of could build our dream world here in Battleworld, what are you hoping to see? Like, what are some iterations of Marvel characters that you would love to see pop up? I mean, obviously, like, World War Hulk is a favorite of everybody's, and we have virtual confirmation that he's going to be there. But who else are you hoping to see in Battleworld from particular storylines?
I'm just a big fan, like, obviously, I'm a Venom fan. We keep talking about this. Like, Eddie Brock Venom is one of my favorite Venoms of all time. I just want to see more of him in, like, everything. Daredevil's pretty cool. I'd like to see a cool Daredevil thing, but I don't think, no, Daredevil, yeah, he is.
He's still got his own solo book going on right now.
Daredevil and, like Gambit and stuff, especially since they're doing the Gambit movie, I'd like to see Gambit get a little bit more play in here, too, especially if they're going to bring in the 90s, like, Fox cartoon X-Men. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to see them really do some things with Rogue. I think that if they're going that route, Rogue is somebody who I would love to see.
And not Jubilee. No Jubilee at all, please.
Get her out of here. She was the dumbest thing. They made her the center of that thing, and they shouldn't have. Take a minor character. Talk about taking a minor character and blowing her out of proportion. Something interesting too, Mike, is Namor. I don't know if you heard this. Namor was killed in the most recent Avengers comic book. The new Illuminati decided to kill Namor, but Ultimate Namor has been missing for years. Like, he's kind of appeared and reappeared, but he hasn't been a main character, and he's ruthless. He's crazy. Like, he is just basically, if you take what Namor is, he's already a little bit crazy. Well, this one's even more nuts. I want to see Ultimate Namor make a comeback. Give me some Submariner. The big one for me is I would love to see Iron Spider. I want to see Spider-Man and I want to see all the different iterations of Spider-Man, like 2099, Amazing Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, and, Armored Spider, or Iron Spider, kind of make this, have a big role in this. Of course, they're going to push Spider-Man, because he's one of their big characters, but I'd love to see that. I would love to see World War II Captain America make an appearance. I think they've already kind of teased that World War II Steve Rogers is going to be in this, fighting Falcon, Steve Rogers, and Ultimate Captain America will also be in there. And I want to see, does Nick Fury die? And does, Ultimate Nick Fury end up taking over just the main Marvel universe, where Nick Fury looks like Samuel L. Jackson, then you don't have that confusion of, wait, there's two Nick Furies? That's something I would not be surprised to see that.
What about how many life model decoys are there going to be in this universe? That's the real thing.
That's a good question. They, of course, showed up in Guardians of the Galaxy Annual. The S.H.I.E.L.D. team. Is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that just got a comic going to have a big part in this? Probably. I wouldn't be surprised to see someone like Daisy Johnson, Quake, because she's getting a big push in television, have a role in this. And one other thing that kind of came to mind is you have multiple Miss Marvels right now. You have Carol Danvers, and then you've got Kamala Khan, who's the new Miss Marvel. So tons of stuff that they could take these routes. Really curious, man. Very exciting, but huge news. Don't really even know what to say about it. Just waiting for more details, and I'm excited.
Yeah, that's going to be it's going to be something I have to check out, get in touch with, and get into my pull box at the local comic book store.
Yes, as that comes around, Mike and I will be reviewing that. And so, just a couple different little news things we wanted to get to real quick. We're going to do our Age of Ultron trailer breakdown here in just a few minutes, but some quick news, Mike. The Suicide Squad movie, of course, announced an all-star cast when they did what they did. But Tom Hardy now, he was cast as Rick Flag, and he's actually leaving the Suicide Squad project. What were your thoughts when you heard this? We haven't really heard a reason out of his camp as to why that's happening. Some people are speculating maybe schedules and stuff, but I'm a little disappointed in this.
I really couldn't care. Like honestly, Rick Flag, like because I wasn't around to read the like old Suicide Squad books when Rick Flag was introduced. Like I wasn't born yet. Like I don't know who Rick Flag is really. And it's cool that he was involved because it's like his like an origin story. But like Tom Hardy being that character isn't a big deal to me. I'd rather like this is the thing, and I said this when Chris Evans was cast as Captain America after he was already Johnny Storm. Technically not in the same universe, but in the same comic book universe. Why are you having a person play two characters? It's confusing to people that might not know Fox owns, the rights to Fantastic Four. Now you have Tom Hardy, who played Bane in a DC Comics movie, and he's going to play a different character, Rick Flag. He's playing a good guy, a bad guy, and now a pseudo good guy anti-hero in the same universe technically.
Yeah, that was really weird for me because they kind of made the point of like, well, what if the Marvel Comics ever decided to have the movie characters like in this Battleworld thing? Would Chris Evans be the Human Torch and Captain America, and how would they go about doing that? It's weird. It's very weird in how they could have done that, but. For me, you know what, this is my thoughts, is obviously this is called the Suicide Squad. Somebody has to die. I'm curious if his character was going to be the one that was killed off, and he said, I'm not signing up just to be killed, see ya, and just went out and said, I'm done, and they're going to find maybe somebody else who's okay with a one and done. Because if you're going to put that much time and effort into something, and you're going to be the one that gets offed, that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, that is and the amount of money that you have to invest to get a guy like Tom Hardy to play a role in one movie, or maybe even just like 45 minutes of a movie, that's terrible casting, really.
Yes, it kind of seems like a waste. But for me, the big thing is that I've heard Jake Gyllenhaal as the main rumored person to replace him. I'm like, those two people could not look or be more different. So what are you trying to go for? Are you just going for name value to kill off a character? Like, what the heck? So I don't know. I'm still looking forward to this. I think that this is the one that I'm the most anticipating because I don't know what they're going to do with it out of all the DC movies that are coming out.
No, I have no idea what's going to happen with the Suicide Squad film. I really have no idea. I still like the Joker as a cat. I don't want to get into it again. Yeah,
I've heard a whole ton of different things involving plot, and basically they were saying the Joker would be in it, but not in it, so we're not going to get too much into that. We don't want to get too far off topic, but the other big casting news, Mike, that just kind of came down on Thursday evening was that X-Men Apocalypse has cast its young Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Storm. We got Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones going to be Jean Grey. We have Alexandra Shipp, who at one point she played Aaliyah in Aaliyah's Lifetime little portrayal. So she'll be Storm, and then Ty Sheridan, who was in Mud and a recurring character in the TV sitcom Last Man Standing, he's going to be young Cyclops. So Mike, I know that you're a big Game of Thrones guy. Sophie Turner coming to the X-Men universe.
That's huge. For me, like that's a big role for her too. Obviously, she's getting all this play on Game of Thrones, not Games of Thrones. What am I talking about? As Sansa Stark, which is big. Like she's one of the main female characters. She's like one of the only Starks that isn't dead in the show. So that's huge. Boom, Alexandra Shipp, another great thing. She's coming up from the Disney Channel, House of Anubis. For those that are not Disney Channel, Nickelodeon.
Yeah, Nickelodeon.
And she did Alvin and the Chipmunks and stuff like that. So that's cool for her. Now I'm not.
Yeah, she's from Phoenix. She's from AZ. I'm pumped.
Now Ty
Sheridan is the one that everybody's like, I don't like the guy. You've never even seen the dude. Like most people just say, well, I don't like him because I haven't heard of him. He's 18 years old. Like, how much would you expect to see the dude in anything? I mean, he's not a child prodigy. Yeah, it's a little bit outside the box, but I think that's the thing that most people have to remember is these are all young actors and actresses. You look at somebody like Sophie Turner. She is, she's 19.
She's also 18 or 19.
Yeah, she's 18. She'll be 19 here in about a month. these are young actors and actresses. You can't cast like a massive name and have them play someone super young because all of a sudden they're going to look really old soon. So this is good casting on the part of Bryan Singer and the people in charge. And if you put a visor on Ty Sheridan, he looks like Cyclops. Like,
nobody has to look at Cyclops' face to be like, oh, he doesn't look like him. He's gonna have a thing on his eyeballs, or at least sunglasses on the whole time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's just going to shoot lasers all over the place and kill people.
Yeah, and he's a bigger guy, so he's a pretty good screen presence. He's not going to be this midget like James Marsden was, because James Marsden, that was one of the shortcomings, was he was kind of short, and they had to frame shots weird. Ty Sheridan is not a small guy. So that's good. And the thing that Bryan Singer said when he was trying to cast Cyclops for the first time with James Marsden was he needs someone who can act with his face without using his eyes, which is big. Because think about how many actors and actresses use their eyeballs as like a key component of their acting. Like they get big eyes or small eyes or different things like that. You have to be able to act with your eyebrows and with your expressions and with how you say things and what does your face do when you say them. So obviously they went through a good process, and I think they made good casting. I think that they've made a good choice by not having Sophie Turner is of course the biggest name, but if you think about it, Jean Grey is one of the most powerful X-Men in the entire Marvel universe. She's one of the most powerful people in all of the Marvel universe when she becomes the Phoenix, which I'm hoping they'll finally fix that storyline. But you know, the other big news was Oscar Isaac, who's had some good things. He's confirmed to be Apocalypse now. And man, they got some good actors for this movie. Like, you know, Quicksilver's going to be back. We have rumors that Gambit's going to be back in it. So, I'm getting more and more excited for X-Men Apocalypse. I mean, I loved the heck out of X-Men First Class. I really loved Days of Future Past, even if it had some interesting plot holes. I at least enjoyed the movie. I'm right in line with this one. I'm really excited for Apocalypse now.
Yeah, I was excited before when it came at the end of, Days of Future Past. We had that little, the Marvel specific like teaser at the end, even though this isn't technically a Marvel movie. Doing quotation marks with my hands that you can't see, but yeah, I'm pumped for this because the Age of Apocalypse like comic book is huge, and this is going to be just as big, I think.
Yes, and we just saw Apocalypse kind of make a mini comeback in Axis. He is definitely one of the most fierce villains in all the Marvel Universe, and they are assembling quite a team of X-Men to have to take him down. Of course, there's going to be Horsemen of the Apocalypse in this, so we'll get to that kind of speculation and stuff later on. So that was just, we wanted to touch on that. Tell us what you all think of the casting in the comments down below on YouTube, Podomatic, iTunes, wherever you happen to find us. Definitely leave us your thoughts. We'd love to hear what you have to say. So, Mike, the last big thing that we want to discuss this week is the Avengers Age of Ultron trailer. Of course, it hit not long after our last podcast. We had it during the National Championship. Of course, it's up on the internet now, on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you can find it. It's there. What were your thoughts, Mike, on the second trailer for this massive blockbuster coming out in just a few months?
It definitely got me excited. We got to see, I feel like, a little bit more of the Hulkbuster. We see an unknown character in a cave taking off a jacket.
Yes. Well, I mean, we could kind of just go through the trailer in the different things, Mike. It starts off pretty dark. The other ones have kind of started off with a light tone, and this one we start off with people being rescued. We see that there's that Hawkeye leading people out into a rescue thing, which I like. We actually get to see the Avengers saving people and going on missions.
Yeah, we had that. You get to, then from there it kind of goes into them at, I guess that's Avengers Mansion, or is that Stark?
That is the Avengers Tower now. It was Stark Tower, renamed Avengers Tower, where all the Avengers are going to stay. It's interesting. They kind of talk about how they don't have a place in this world, how, they're outlaws. Nick Fury kind of comes in and, talks about different things. I feel like the big theme of this is we've been talking about it, Avengers disassembled. Nobody wants them around. Everybody's afraid of them. Like, sure, you're trying to save people, but look at what you're causing. Like, if you didn't exist, would the world be a safer place,
Yeah, I mean, the line where Mark Ruffalo, a.k.a. Bruce Banner, a.k.a. the Hulk, is like, Ultron, when Ultron kind of comes like stumbling out of the back room there. Yeah,
I thought that was big because of course I like that Marvel is subtle in their trailers. It's like, okay, so he knows who Ultron is. Does everybody else know who Ultron is, or did they think Ultron was just a concept? Like, obviously, he knows him by sight and by sound. You have this scene here with Tony Stark kind of going to what seems like a cave, like a secret little lair of his, where I'm guessing he worked on and developed Ultron. They didn't give too much away in this. You can speculate kind of on what you think's going to happen. But man, that was just, there's definitely a lot of animosity towards Mr. Stark going on in this.
Yeah, you see Thor, like we did in the first trailer, which may or may not be the same frames put into this one, where he's kind of confronting Tony and grabbing him by the throat and picking him up. A lot of infighting, you could see it, like we're planting the seeds for the Avengers to kind of break up and then lead into the next phase of the Marvel movies with the Civil Wars and stuff like that. So it's getting to where it needs to be. I did feel like, though, that, like I just said with the Thor thing, that we got a lot of duplicate stuff from the first trailer.
Yeah, it almost seems like we've seen a few different scenes and just different things from those scenes. We haven't seen anything really different. There was a couple different things. Like we saw that scene of Bruce Banner kind of down in what looks like a workshop, and he's trying to not Hulk out. Like you see his eyes kind of turn red a little bit, a little green. It almost looks like he's being controlled by something. He's trying to fight it, trying to figure out how he can get control back. So that could set up a ton of different great storylines with him because he looks nuts. And I love Mark Ruffalo in that role. I want to talk about this person in black, the black. She's clearly looks like she's of African descent. She's kind of in a cave and she's got that dress on with that pool of water in front of her. Now, obviously, Marvel has a history of kind of putting backgrounds to things that don't actually belong there because they don't want you to know what's happening in a trailer and then go to the movie and know what's going to happen in that. But I'm assuming this is all from that same scene from the first trailer. Just a guess. There are two possibilities here. It could be that scene from the first trailer where Thor was kind of in that water pool and he was shirtless and he was yelling that a lot of the ladies loved. That looks very similar backdrop to that. Or, Mike, could this be a Wakandan princess of some kind?
That would be amazing if they did that to kind of tie it into what's, like I just said, they're going towards that Civil War stuff where we've heard a lot of rumors of Black Panther playing the Spider-Man role. That would be amazing. We also had, I don't have any other speculations for that stuff.
Yeah, there's only so much you could do with that.
We had a lot of shots of Romanov, kind of, connecting with Hulk and seeing her just kind of in a different light in a lot of this trailer.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a good Black Widow origin in this. We saw that scene with what looks to be a younger Natasha Romanoff, or Natalia Romanoff, depending on where in her story you want to call her. Kind of on a table with an operating thing. And in the previous trailer, we saw ballet, and there's, some pieces of ballet in her comic book origin as well. So I think that this would be good, because a lot of people have been calling for kind of a Black Widow movie. I don't know if they're going to do that as much as I think what they're doing here, which is kind of tying her into all these team-up movies like The Winter Soldier, Iron Man 2, of course the Avengers, and now this, where we're going to flesh out her origin in this movie. I mean, there's been a lot of thoughts that they could kill somebody off. I wonder if Black Widow is going to be the one that they kill off in this movie.
Yeah, well, I feel like she could never really be killed.
Well, nobody's ever dead in comics. So.
But I mean, obviously, but I'm saying, she could be one of those people that, kind of like how they do with the American soap operas, where, they're dead, but they're not dead. They've somehow come back.
Yeah, perceived death.
Yeah, that would be, I feel like, a lot, especially since she's that spy. She's a double agent in some of her origins, and, I think that would tie in pretty well.
Yes, I would be more than okay with that. I think I think somebody has to die. I don't think they'll kill off Quicksilver, because you'd have to explain how do you kill someone who runs faster than light. How do you even catch them to do that? And so you get that scene. The one scene that I really liked is we got to see the new Iron Man armor. I believe it's the Mark 46, kind of at a castle. So once again, the Avengers, going on missions together, saving people, taking down bad guys in the snow. That armor looks just amazing with all the gold. I really love the red. I thought that Mark 42 had way too much gold, but this one seems to have the perfect balance of gold and red.
Yeah, all the Iron Man armors are awesome. They could be all gold. They could be all red. They could be. I mean, look at the Iron Patriot one's cool.
Yeah, we've had rumors that it's going to be the War Machine armor back in this movie.
That would be awesome.
What if they killed him off, Mike? How would you feel if Rhodey got killed off right before Civil War? Would that not be kind of another way to add tension to the Civil War arc of people, dying on both sides? Like, if Tony Stark finds out that Bucky Barnes somehow killed his parents, and then, you've got this going on.
Yeah, that'd be pretty intense. I could get behind something like that to just kind of drive. It would suck because I like any movie that Don Cheadle's in is usually really good.
Yeah, and I love War Machine as just a general comic book character. I like Rhodes. I like the War Machine armor. I like, that he stands for the military and that he's just awesome all around.
Yeah, War Machine is definitely a great sidekick. But I really don't see War Machine, without Iron Man, there is no War Machine, obviously.
Yes, and so the other, of course, big thing was Hulk. We've talked about him. He's hulking out. He's playing soccer with some police vehicles. Looks like people may die. And then the big one, Mike, we get a nice, good look at Andy Serkis's character, who it hasn't been confirmed, but we're pretty darn sure is going to be Ulysses Claw.
Yeah, we're still calling him Ulysses Claw until otherwise noted. There, you get that nice big shot. I mean, it's very quick.
It's about 2 frames.
Much like we talked about, was Evangeline Lilly's character in the Ant-Man trailer, where it was a very quick, like a snap of your fingers and it was gone thing, but you just got a full shot of his face, and he was looking pretty much dead into the camera.
Yep, and he's pointing a gun, so he's looking pretty angry.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see. Marvel has not confirmed this. Other websites are saying that they can confirm that that's who he is. It's probably who he is. We've speculated it here now for the last couple months. I'm going to just go ahead and say that that's who he is. There's nothing to confirm that, though, so don't take that and, write it anywhere.
Well, I mean, realistically, the pictures that you sent me when the first Avengers trailer came out of, Claw in the comics, Claw in, the animated universe, and then Andy Serkis's character, there's no way that you can't connect those 3 pictures.
Yeah, that has to be him. And I think what would be interesting is if we saw Claw get his hand cut off here, and then you'd have, of course, paving the way for his comic book counterpart where he ends up working with Hydra, and he gets that piece of armor on his arm, the sound wave, can't think of what it's called off the top of my head. The thing it's his little gun, his little sound gun, if you will, where he doesn't literally become the sound, because I think that would just be a little out there even for Marvel.
Yeah, that would be a huge stretch to do in a movie.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. Marvel Universe has kind of said take things for how they are, but when things are in reality, they're in reality. The scene of Captain America getting choked out by an Ultron bot, I thought added a lot of good stuff. Like you said, you have that Hulk and Black Widow connection. We get another good look at Ultron, where he's shooting out those things. He continues to just look amazing and scary. Good. We need scary Marvel villains.
With the first shot where he kind of limps out of the back room and he's just a broken down robot but is still functioning is creepy.
Yes, and then you get that whole progression. They didn't shy away from the Pinocchio thing where I'm going to become a better human than you could ever be. That whole theme continues to drive the trailers, and just, man, you see he can shoot some rays, although I don't think that scene is connected with Thor summoning the lightning and shooting the lightning. Good. Hopefully Thor isn't nerfed in this movie, because I'm sick of Thor being nerfed on movies. It's bothering me.
Yeah. He's only the god of thunder and lightning and all this, but he can't do anything with the lightning. Yeah,
obviously they need him to be part of the team. He can't overshadow the rest of the team members, allegedly. I get how that works. You have a bunch of highly paid actors, and you're trying not to, overshadow one or the other. But the big ending, of course, the scene that continues to just get hype all over the internet, driving the hype train right off the tracks, Hulkbuster body slamming the Hulk.
Yeah, the Hulkbuster, in general, is just amazing looking. And then, we get him dragging him across the ground, and then you get that big slam right there at the end, and people are just going insane.
Yep, and you could see in that one shot, kind of near the end, like you said, right after the body slam, when the Hulk turns his head, his eyes are he's not looking like himself, he's looking like he's being controlled. Which is just kind of fueling the theory that, hey, Scarlet Witch shows up and something happens and the Hulk loses it. He doesn't look like normal Hulk anymore. But I gotta say, this Hulk in general, the more I'm seeing of him, looks a lot more like Mark Ruffalo. He looks way better, and of course that just shows how technology has changed in 3 years, that the Hulk just looks better in this movie. He doesn't look so glossy. He looks more like something that could actually exist.
Yeah, the CGI continues to improve. You can see he looks a little bit, as he's getting beat up, he's been dragged across the asphalt and all that stuff. He's got like the scuffs on his skin. He's a little dirty. Like you said, he's not as glossy. He's a little bit more flat green as opposed to like a big shiny monster. But it looks great, and like you said, the facial features look a lot more like Mark Ruffalo, which is much better.
Yes, and so continue to be hyped. I can't wait. We should be getting some trailers, from what I'm understanding, a Batman Superman tease in one of the upcoming Warner Brothers releases. The Kingsman is expected to have the Fantastic Four trailer attached to it, and that's coming out here soon.
That movie looks amazing, by the way.
Yes, I know it's not comic book related, but that looks like a darn good action spy movie. I'm pushing it right now, and Samuel L. Jackson is in it again. That guy just seems to find his way to all kinds of awesome things.
And much like wrestling villains, he's wearing a Yankees hat as a bad guy.
Yes. So many good things about that movie to look forward to. But Mike, as we kind of close up the show this week with the Death Rays accounted for, episode 14, you did get your Loot Crate. Tell us, what'd you get in it? What are you excited about?
Yeah, Loot Crate, awesome this month. I got a new toy. It's like much like a Funko, like a pop figure. It is a little NES cartridge. It's about 3.5, 4 inches tall. An NES cartridge that came with arms and legs and a duck hunt gun. So it's like a little posable character, but they all have like some sort of movie reference on them. One of them's Back to the Future. The one that I got is The Fifth Element. So it says Corbin's Alley, and it has the aliens from The Fifth Element kind of shooting at you. It's an homage to both the movie and an old Nintendo game that I can't remember the name of.
Duck Hunt?
No. The cover art for the game was very similar because I remember I had it. I had like 80 NES games when I was a little kid, and this was one of them. I believe it. Hold on, I'm going to look up the game. But also, we had a Voltron shirt, where it's kind of like the schematics of how to build Voltron. The game is called Hogan's Alley. You went around and shot gangsters with your guns. It was like a cardboard cutout shooting game. That's what it says on Wikipedia. So we got a T-shirt. There's a tie with Space Invaders on it. I got some sunglasses, which are really cool. They look like they're all 8-bitted out, so it kind of looks like a Minecraft or regular Nintendo game, but they're sunglasses. Star Wars #1 variant cover with Han and Chewbacca on it, and then it gave you this little notebook. And it says the comic notebook, and it's 64 pages of a little, like a pocket notebook where you could, make little notes. But it's all broken down into panels, so if you wanted to, you could draw your own little comic book in here. And it comes with little stencils to make like word bubbles and titles, and all that good stuff. So I thought it was really cool. Loot Crate, like I said, $20 a month. You get cool stuff like this if you're into things like Voltron and old kind of weird retro toys and ties and sunglasses and all that good stuff. Comic books.
Yes.
Sign up for it. We have the link. It's on the
we
YouTube
link it
video.
we link it in the description every week in the YouTube section. We'll definitely be sure to put that also on our Facebook and our YouTube for anybody who's interested in checking that out. And so, you know what? I think that's about it, Mike. It's been a good show. We had a lot to get to. Got a lot of good stuff done. The Death Rays Accounted For was our title because that was just an amazing line in Agent Carter. 14 episodes in. And by the way, everybody, we talked about it last time. We finally completed the Vault of Glass. We took down Atheon. We finally got the loot from the raid.
The armor shader.
The white armor shader. We all got the white armor shader. We got some Ascendant materials, some gear that we didn't even need. But we did it. We'll be on to Crota's End here in the next week or so. We'll be doing the Vault of Glass on hard at some point, and that'll bring a whole nother set of adventures. We are going to stream the next time we do the Vault of Glass. So be sure to make sure to watch my stream at Superhero Deuce and Mike's stream at Mike is the Hat for all that wonderful stuff coming your way.
Yeah, especially March, it looks like is going to be a huge month for my stream, so I'll just leave it that very vague.
Yes, more on that in the future. So, like we said, we love every single one of you that listen to our show. Thank you for your support. We appreciate it. Also, we want to give a thanks to the Comic Book Cast on their Off-Topic podcast. They name-dropped us. They read our title suggestion that we gave to them, that basically put all of their little ploys, all of their little catchphrases from the last several years into a single title. Thank you for the shout-out for that. We are, of course, the Mad Nerds Podcast, here with episode 14. We love you. God bless you all. Hello to the NSA guy. We are out.